I'm not sure what Father Richter mentioned last week, but just in case he didn't go over this, or for the benefit of those who may not have been here, I just want to take stock of where we are. Okay, I just want you to understand where we are in the cycle of readings. In the year B, it's a 3-year cycle of gospel readings. We're in year B. Year B is the Gospel of Mark. And Mark is by far the shortest of the 3 what we call synoptic gospels, Matthew, Mark, and Luke. And so when you have year B, you go through the Gospel of Mark. If you just went right through it, you'd finish the gospel before the year actually got over. And you'd have to, basically, you need some space filler. You need some stuff to fill in the gaps. And so in the middle of the Gospel of Mark, the church inserts John chapter 6, which is the Bread of Life Discourse. And so it's, I think, weeks 17, 18, 19, and 20. I'd have to double check that, but I think that's what it is. In ordinary time, year B, you go through John chapter 6, which is right where we're at now. So let's just back up a week. And remember what we talked about last week? The multiplication of the loaves. So Jesus comes and he has the 5 loaves, and he multiplies them, and he feeds the multitude. That was John 6, 1 through 15. Today, we get John 6, 24 through, I think, 33. But you may have noticed we skipped something in there. So what happened to 16 to 23? We just skipped over it. But it's important to understand what happened there because it sets the context for this passage. After Jesus multiplies the loaves, according to John chapter 6, we then get the story of him walking on water. So he walks across the sea, and he says to the apostles, as the New American Bible translates it, "It is I." And this is why Dr. Tim Gray, my professor in seminary, said the NAB should not stand for New American Bible, it should stand for not all bad. In other words, it's probably not the best translation out there. Jesus does not say, "It is I." Okay, what does he say? He says, ego, I, eimi, am. Ego, eimi, I am. What does this hearken to our memory? Of course, it's the divine name that God himself revealed to Moses in the burning bush. Yahweh, Ea Asher Ea, is what it is in Hebrew. Ea Asher Ea, I am. And Jesus picks this up as he walks across water and reveals himself to the apostles. I am God. So Jesus has multiplied the loaves, revealed himself as God, and now we transition, and the people who observed him multiply the loaves say, okay, what can you do? Because Moses gave us bread to eat in the desert. We heard that in the first reading. So the Israelite people are out in the desert, and God, through Moses' hand, feeds them bread every day as a preview, as a prefiguring of the Eucharist. And so Jesus picks this up, and Jesus very clearly presents himself as a new Moses, the one who not only feeds his people bread that passes away in the desert just to get them out of the desert, but he gives us bread that leads us unto eternal life. The bread, literally, of life. Of course, referencing the Eucharist, and he's going to break this open in the next few verses that we'll hear over the next couple of weeks. Here's the point that I want you to understand. Jesus, first of all, presents himself as a new Moses. And just like Moses nourished his people in the desert, Jesus nourishes us in the desert that we call life. But the second point is this. As we heard in this gospel, the people said to Jesus, look, Moses gave our fathers bread in the desert, but guess what? They still died. And Jesus says, hey, guess what? I've got bread that if you eat it, you will never die. Ever. That's pretty darn good news. And so what's the people's response? Give us this bread. Like, we want this. Where is it? Give this to us. And what is Jesus' response? I am the bread of life. Whoever eats my flesh and drinks my blood has life in them. Unless you eat my flesh and drink my blood, you have no life in you. I once heard it put this way. Mass, the holy sacrifice of the Mass, is for people with nothing better to do, which is every single person on the planet. Mass is for people with nothing better to do. There is nothing better to do in the entirety of the universe than to come here to receive the bread of life. In fact, we could even say that the entirety of the universe, go out at night sometime, look up at the sky, look at the stars, and imagine, because this is true, all those stars are in our galaxy. And imagine how many trillions and hundreds of trillions of galaxies are out there in the universe. The entirety of the universe was created as a tabernacle to house the Holy Eucharist. Mass is for people with nothing better to do. Please stand and let us profess together our common faith. I believe in one God,